is Thomas Ellison. I will be your master of ceremony tonight. And welcome to Wellspring 2016. So over the past 3 days, 11 aspiring writers have came all across the country to come here to Logan, Ohio, where they have more species of trees than they do cell phone towers, but to learn from a wide range of poet minds and just great people in general, and we would like to acknowledge those people right now. Our mentors, first Miss Alison Luterman. Miss Shamika Moore. Miss Rosemerry Trommer. And the wise but eccentric David Lee. So let's get into it with our first poem. Will be from Tomas. Oh, I'm sorry. We also ask that during someone's poem that you do not snap nor clap during the poem. We'll wait till the end to give our round of applause and our snap. So we will start first with Tomas Pacheco, a sophomore from Columbus Alternative High School in Columbus, Ohio. Tomas.
So first of all, I would like to thank my parents, who I'm so glad could come to see this, because they've created such a positive environment where I can really just embrace my writing and just such a positive, creative environment. And I'd also like to thank Mickey, who's filming there back with the camera. He's really kept us organized, kept this whole thing running, and he has a Humpty Dumpty toy that's brightened up my days. So, continuing, this poem is titled My Driveway, aka My Street. Behind the rusted gate and the parked cars, bare feet slap hot pavement on my street. Burning memories in the skin now thick. I could recount it at a moment's notice, how gravel dug into callous heels could be ground by pounding shoes and rubber tires, beaten by basketballs, dripped on by the dribble of spittle when it falls from the baby's open mouth as he speaks his first word, his brother's name, but an infant's murmur echoes into a loud cry, rage, the flying fists of sibling rivalry cast me upon the hot pavement, and I bounced off of my street. The battle wasn't over, but it didn't leave a dent, so I knew one day the driveway would be a place of play again. When our house was united by free time, when my temper wasn't burning with the burden of the day, I still walk up and down my street, that searing, sizzling, scorching hot pavement, and beneath my feet I can almost feel it sinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomas. Next, a junior from Wellington High School in Upper Arlington, Ohio, we have Brianna Masters.
To start off, I want to thank Paul for giving his time to take us all hiking at Old Man's Cave yesterday. It was a really good experience and definitely one of the highlights of this trip for all of us. This poem is titled The Boy Who Forgot His Wings. He doesn't break a sweat in the heat. It's easy for him to capture the tension between eyes facing forward and mind gazing backwards, but he never holds it. Without his consent, that wandering mind longs to remember the bittersweet sky he spent his life trying to forget. And he turns a twinkling blind eye. Every gravity-riddled step when he feels his soles fusing to the pavement, an anvil on his shoulders when ghosts of the past and monsters of the present reach up to clutch his ankles. Shouldn't it be easier to soar on raven's wings without using monsters as justification for denying the sky? Maybe he doesn't realize yet how they can't match his strength when he remembers his wings. Those grass-stained feathers act as sword and shield. He swears he can choose to embrace his curse, if only he could remember his wings. Thank you.
Next, another student from Wellington High School in Upper Arlington. We have junior Becky Carr.
I would like to thank Elizabeth for providing us with breakfast for the duration of our trip. I especially like the donuts. My poem is entitled Silent Anger. Sometimes when she screams, she decides to cry instead. She is not crying. No, listen closely. She is screaming in the only language she knows. I'm sure you've heard it before, that soft little voice you can't make out, the cry of the earth or the lone bird flying the other way. A voice still unsure of what she's saying, but knows it will tear her apart from the insides with every piece she swallows. That burning sensation, always quite a pill to swallow, I would say. Screaming with every delicate tear shed, with every clenched fist behind her back. Deceitful almost, some might say. I see talent. It takes talent to scream with your tears. Such a pretty little thing, never angry, never making a scene. When I heard you say, I don't know why she didn't speak, I knew you didn't speak the language.
Next, a senior from Centennial High School in Columbus, Ohio, we have Jessica Kennedy.
I think that should be good. I'd like to start by thanking Susan because she was the chaperone for my cabin on the first night, and I had a minute to talk to her, and I just think it's so amazing when people volunteer their time for such a greater good. Like, I don't know, this means so much to me. And I'd also like to thank anyone that's supported me in this, because poetry has been a very raw experience for me. I titled my poem Untitled. It was foolish of me to think that I meant more to you than what I was willing to provide. You still stole things from me that cannot be returned. My dignity. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to believe that for some reason you cared about my well-being. How didn't I see through your selfish charm? I thought I was special. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to talk to you with any decency from that point forward. The only words that should have been exchanged between you and I are the ones you're probably incapable of saying. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to believe that guys were better than that, but I should have known all along, and now I do. I'll never make that mistake again. It was foolish of me to think that after that night it would get better as time goes on. I still wonder what even happened. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to think that my friends would sympathize with me. The only thing I received is pointers on how to not let that happen again. The only thing I know how to say about that night is I'm sorry. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to feel as if I was capable of doing anything more than setting myself up for bad situations. I wanted to take a shot, but you poured half the bottle in my cup. There's only one TV in my room, but I saw 3. And you laughed because you knew you had gotten me right where you wanted me. It was foolish of me. Foolish of me to think that I was anything more than foolish to you.
Next, a freshman from Shameaca Julienne, my alma mater in Dayton, Ohio, Miss Madeline Hofstetter.
I'd like to start with thanking the very kind Ava, who gave some of her time so she could be our chaperone last night. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Brooks, Ellie and I's English teacher, who gave us this opportunity, and also my parents, who've given me everything. This is called A Dance in the Omen. I sit in the dark, with the sharp canopy of silence as company. There I cling, sitting next to the slick windowsill, my face pasted to the biting air. I see nothingness and the grayness, a lonely afternoon, bruised pale and violet, and blue in the soft gray hues. I see nothing but grayness, but that's okay. The sheer curtains are billowing like a veil, adding to the shrouded light, but that's okay. The grayness is a chill, the world is closed down. It shut off early tonight, that's okay. It's beautiful and welcoming, and I'm alone. Often, when darkness shrouds, I turn to the front door. I'll go for a walk in the clear evening to see the stars I so rarely get to talk to, much less the blue and clear, creamy moon. On another night, I might go for a waltz in the sheets of pitch black rain, because I love that solitude, when all the doors have shut and the others of the world retreat, huddling like scrappy mice around the fire in the corner that is warm. But I am freezing, my fingers, my face being washed by an outside shower, my clothes that cling with dampness splashing in the wild tears. It's like fluid snow, golden yet with a blue shadow. I'm dancing in the Omen. Although some nights I might hear, I don't want you to catch a cold, or it's a little too dark tonight, or maybe even, please come home soon, I don't want you to get hurt. Which I don't mind too much, in fact I can appreciate. It's just my fog is blown away now and I'm normal. I'll just have to work for finding that again. Thank you.
That's the CJ Magic.
Non-biased.
Like I said in the beginning of the program, all of these young people have come from various places in the country, and the next one is a pure example of that, from Boston, Massachusetts. She goes to Harvard Extension, a sophomore, Miss Mayan Ziv-Kreger.
First of all, I'd like to thank Clyde and Omi, my grandparents, for helping out with the housing situation and for making it be able for us to be here. It really means a lot. Second, I'd like to thank Dennis. I really got a great impression from you and really enjoyed speaking with you. I'd like to dedicate my poem to all my growing, solid, and learning friends. It's called Boston Wind. Part 1. A slowly diminishing crowd surrounds a shitty street performance. You photograph the effort given and take a grimy business card. Stale air filled tea cars full of uninterest and tired stares avoiding eye contact. You smile pointedly at your fellow passengers. Let the familiar, crisp New England air ever whipping the scent of rancid pizza and cigarette smoke around brick houses slap some sense into you. Part 2 starts with an epigraph from Ocean Vuong, the sound of people trying to live life a little longer. Is the scratch of my mother's borrowed yellow number 2 pencil writing holiday menus in a smoky kitchen. The seeping sound of trying to live longer is a leaking bike tire, rolling over musty leaves on crippled pavement and embracing the biting air. It's the sound of coming home to silence and still setting your bag down gently. Thank you.
Next, from Eastmore Academy. That's a fact. Hey. From Eastmore Academy in Columbus, Ohio, we have senior Kevin Porter.
Anyway, first off, I'd like to thank Marcus, our sound guy here. He's a really cool musician, and even though he's not a poet or whatever, he still shows you can express yourself through the arts, and like that's really what this is all about, you know, finding your way to express yourself, be it poetry, be it art, be it, you know, whatever it is. You know, that's what really makes life worth living. I'd also like to thank Wick McGowan, you know, my teacher, kind of my mentor through this, like before, you know, I met all these wonderful instructors, and still I'll talk to him too. But he was the one who like really got me into poetry. You know, like I'm sort of like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but he's like, no, you're doing this. It's good for you. And I'm glad he pushed me like that. So thank you. Anyway, this poem is called I Hate Mondays. I hate Mondays. Yes, truly the most original of sentiments, hackneyed even when Garfield presented it. Though on the surface, we're not so different. We don't work, we're both grumpy, and have an interesting shade of orange. Him from his color, and me from the Cheeto dust on my fingers. So why would we, seemingly similar sad sack slackers, have a reason to hate Mondays? Well, I can't speak for Garfield. The comic has long since been out of print, and I don't feel like pestering a 70-year-old man on his imaginary cat's opinion. So let me tell you why me and Monday have fallen out of fashion. You see, I'm approaching the age of 18, and with that comes 3 R's, reading, writing, and responsibility. Despite the fact that I was versed in fine print checks and balances, I had not yet done a dalliance with what people call a square job. Not to say I hadn't worked before. I've done odd jobs, intern, volunteer work, stuff in the summer, yet in the traditional sense, my work history was as green as the cash that I received because real jobs use direct deposit. I'm getting off topic. Anyway, it was a Monday when I wrote this. Mom left the house before me, as is often the case when she works mornings. We chatted for a scant few minutes before she caught a cab about my future. Previously, we had conferences where we covered careers with ever-increasing clarity, and consequently, I countered with varying levels of verity. Though this time, I decided to choose my words wise, because no one wants to hear, I don't know what I'm doing with my life at around 5:30, even if that is when it normally happens. She smiles, gives a few reassuring platitudes before going out the front door and hobbling down our old stone stairs. She's been doing that a lot lately. few weeks back, I asked, why doesn't she just call off, get a rest? She said, because without me, stuff wouldn't get done. She works at a nursing home, cooking for the sick and forgotten for 17 years. She comes home upbeat with an aching body. I say, how was your day? Out of courtesy and concern. I wonder if she does it all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, a student from Shameaca Julian in Dayton, Ohio, freshman Reeves.
Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Evie for such wonderful days of chatting about things like a certain presidential candidate with orange hair. And everything would be different without her. I would also like to thank Alan, her husband, since everything wouldn't be possible without him. Okay. So I would like to dedicate this poem to all my friends that I've made throughout these past couple days, and my parents and my teachers and the boy who inspired parts of this poem for me. And I would also like, and this poem is a response to A Walk to Salt Creek by David Bottoms. If you haven't read the poem, you should. Vignettes of a half-dead boy, unentitled and unimportant. As he who came before me shall leave after me. In the day there is light, in the night there is darkness where one may think. Empty whiskey bottles rest at the edge of his bed, 12 a.m. A lonely soul consumed by demons, a pact contracted through reconciled thoughts, 1 a.m. Dirty body, dirty mind, and dirty soul lay in the presence of his God, innocence stolen by a thief at an age too young, 2 a.m. Rough, harsh tablets scratch against a dry palate, unaware at the damages caused, 3 a.m. Fire touches burned against his paper skin, rendered useless just as his mother always said, 4 a.m. Bathtub jokes choking on lukewarm water, lungs filled with unwanted desperation, 5 a.m. Gruesome art formed from memories too horrible to be forgotten and too easy to be forgot by others, 6 a.m. Muffled ears drown in the war within his own head, repeating, I saw evil, I heard evil, but that does not mean I am tainted with evil, 7 a.m. 8 a.m. Light blinds, disoriented, and bloodshot eyes as they open a first act of defiance. A new day stuck on past memories with hope to continue on to a better life.
Bravo. Next up, from Centennial High School in Columbus, Ohio, sophomore Aria Brent.
Get it, girl.
Before I present my poem, I want to give
A very big thank you to Matt and Amy, who are in charge of the kitchen upstairs. They fed us very well these past 3 days. If y'all ain't been up there, you need to get a chance to go up there because it's popping. I also want to thank my mom and dad for allowing me to, go to this wonderful opportunity. And I want to thank my teachers, Miss Berry and Miss Taylor, for presenting the opportunity. Thank you very, very much. This poem is titled The Love Child of the Concrete Jungle. I could tell you about when insults didn't slide off my back like oil on ice. All that cankalon in my head, you'd expect them to call me Black Beauty, but instead they called me Burnt Biscuit. They called me a birthmark because mine wasn't as evident as theirs. The south side of Columbus taught me to turn this sadness into anger. My anger is oftentimes masked by my humorous tone, but please know that being called a Rasputia and an African booty scratcher haven't gone away. They've simply become the roots of the cold-hearted ass I'm turning into. I could tell you about when my classmates noticed my skin tone before they noticed my bright pink Hello Kitty shoes that I picked out specifically so they would like me. They instead clowned me. They clowned me at a school where 99.9% of the students were Black, where we said the Black national anthem, a school so Afrocentric you would have never expected room for colorism to exist. I could tell you about how nappy my hair is and how the thought of getting a relaxer used to warm my heart. I could tell you about how fruit that came from the same family tree as my own went out of their way to turn me sour and bitter. Fat ass beluga whale bitch. It still rings through my mind. I was too dark to live out my pop star dreams. I could tell you about when I wasn't the ice that has oil sliding off of it. When I wasn't ice cold, when I couldn't hang with the best of the boys, when my head full of kinky, coily hair was hung low so that you couldn't see the tears that were tattooed on my face. I could tell you about how middle school made me tough and the hunger to not be eaten alive made me even tougher. I could tell you about my new titanium heart that still isn't completely bulletproof. I could tell you about how much I now love my burnt beluga whale body, but that'll take too long.
Thank you, Aria. Next, we have probably the most exciting, best person I've ever met from Montana. She's also the only person I've met from Montana, but that doesn't make a difference. We have from William Buffalo Hyde Academy in Browning, Montana, Dylan Runnig Crane.
Thank you, Thomas. I want to thank Barb and Denny for letting me stay at their house and bringing me the opportunity to come to this. And they are the kindest people that I've ever met. This poem is titled Less Red. Here's today, with every small cut disinfected, stinging. The edge of every fall barely softened by the caress of fleece-lined socks. The depth of your hangover weakened by noon sun so white you mistake it for sterility, for cleanliness, for a moment so cathartic it could be holy. You want it to be holy. But then you remember sacred only happens in the dark, and this day still holds a year's worth of months in hours, all of which you will leave open, raw and grasping and hungry. The heavy canister lid of 10 p.m. keeping them out of sight and forgotten until morning, where they'll swap the disinfectant for a bandage. The lid sliding off, your wounds look a little better today. introduce our last poet and our magnificent MC, Thomas Ellison.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank, first of all, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be here anyway if it wasn't for him. I'd like to thank, where's Brian? Brian was our chaperone our first night we came here, and Brian had no idea what he was getting himself into. But the fact that he was brave enough to fight whatever was going to go on in that cabin, I condone him. But other than that, he's been a great friend, and I'm glad you have came and blessed all of us. Appreciate it. I also like to thank my former English teacher, Jim Brooks, who's here all the way from Dayton, Ohio. And I also, of course, like to thank Alan. In less than a year, he's changed my life in ways I don't think he even knows. There's a book called The Alchemist where you meet people that propel you onto your sense, and he's definitely one of them. So I'd like to thank you. This is entitled Daisies. He loves me. He loves me not. I could tell you about a day when I was 10. It was a Saturday, and my dad was coming to pick me up at 3 p.m. for a day of father-son bonding. I hopped in the shower around 2:45. As I washed my body with forgiveness, I couldn't but imagine how much fun we were in store for. I put my shirt of best impression on, my pants of pride, my shoes of unreasonable hope, strapped on my watch of anxiety, and sprayed on my cologne, the scent of high expectation. Around 2:45, I walked out on the front porch and sat down and waited. I couldn't think of nothing else but how much fun we were going to have. What were we going to do? In fact, I didn't care. It was going to be me and him, and I know things didn't work out between us the first time, but the car pulled up, 3:05. He pulled up in a newly washed 2005 red Ford F-150. The honk of his car lured me in like a bee on a melted popsicle. As he sped down the road, I couldn't help but admire his well-groomed beard and his light brown eyes. I became so anxious to get old so I could look just like him. He loves me. He loves me not. The day started off at the toy store where he bought me a basketball, my first basketball. As I dribbled the great sphere of orange leather, I began to absorb its mighty powers. The next stop was the gym where we played one-on-one 5 times. I won 4 times. I let him win the last time. He loves me. He loves me not. Next stop was the movies, where we saw Shrek 2. The low-down, broken seats of the theater made no difference as we sat and watched and laughed at every time Shrek yelled, "Donkey!" After the movies, he took me to Wendy's, where he said I could order anything I wanted on the menu. A 10-piece chicken nugget with a vanilla frosty, please, sir. As we sat across from each other, nothing else mattered. I was with him, he was with me. We were in perfect harmony. He loves me. Maybe this was it. It was finally over. Those days of waiting by the phone in hope of him to call, and those days where I would just go outside and play catch with myself. No more would I be teased of being the only kid on the block without a father in the house. No more would I not be able to participate in the father-son basketball game at church. No more would I hear people say, your father's nothing but a piece of shit, Thomas. He didn't go back to college. He went to jail, Thomas. He loves that crack pipe more than he loves you, Thomas. And even though he canceled on me the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time and the fifth time, but that doesn't matter anymore. He's here now. He loves me. Doesn't he? Doesn't he? Yes, he does. Ha! In your face. I told you he loves me. He loves me. Tommy, I could tell you how I awoke and looked up to see my mother hovering. I'm sorry. I could tell you how I awoke and looked up to see my mother hovering over me on the porch. I looked at my watch, 8:45 p.m. My chest began to tighten, my eyes began to water as my mother wrapped me in my arms. My mind was made up, and I had ran out of petals. He loves me not.
Is this on, Marcus?
Yes.
Now that you're warmed up from clapping, I'd like all the poets to stand up and face the audience, and let's give them some more claps for such a talk prepared to give, but just pale in comparison. It did have a good title, though. I'll give you that part of it. And I'll give you the last paragraph. It was called Hangovers, Apocalypse, Zombies, Parsifal, and the Music of the Spheres, but you'll never hear it. The last part, though, sitting in front of you now are the 2016 students of Wellspring of Imagination. I don't know if they've passed standardized tests. I don't know their politics or religious affiliation. I do know each of them has a unique gift they brought to the world, and that our time together has helped them see it more clearly and understand that the purpose of having a gift is to give it to their people, and that we are all each other's people. Young people are our most important resource, our hope for a better future, yet our culture does not seem to realize this. They're not statistics, an economic demographic, cannon fodder for future war, or a manipulable electorate. They are the holders of gifts, of innumerable grails, and the sense of a vessel that holds what can heal. They are many small lights that together brighten our lives. Let us begin to properly put a larger part of our focus on them. They are our stars, and tonight they will sing. Open your ears, hear them, learn, and celebrate. Thank you again, poets. They compelled me to say the unthinkable the other day, that if I had students like this, I would still be teaching. If you know me, that's a big thing. Okay, we have a new teacher this year. We wanted to liven things up again and get a little youth in the mix. And I saw this young woman at the Slam last year in Columbus and immediately fell under her spell, and I think you will too. Shamika Moore, please come up and show.
Shamika. My original birth certificate is as lost as they say my mother's mind was when she tagged graffiti on my introduction. The first 5 letters are shame, prophecy, for how my classmates make me feel mid-handshake after the 3rd try swallowing it. Most days, I believe it ends in a question mark like Shameaca, Shameaca, Shamika, Shamika. I insert my name in my contacts to see if Siri can say it better than my white professor teaching the intro to African American literature. And the suggestion for my mother's letter plate is shamed face. That night, shame face, we're ready for you. I have nightmares about interviews to my dream job and whether or not I'll live to get there. In the end, my mother is handcuffed with the color she used for my hood hieroglyph of a social security card. There is little security when you have a name so black and blue like mine, like Shamika. They say she named me like an amateur with some spare spray paint, marked me on an abandoned train not meant to go anywhere, and some nights my mother and I are stuck enough to believe them. Last night, she is all cheap liquor and remorse, like a convicted artist ashamed of her only form of affirmation on 15th Street. My mother does not know Wewe ni Mungu, Wewe ni Mungu. My mother does not know how far Kenya is from Zanzibar. She does not know white supremacy by name, but she knows that loving something that sounds like home is a rebellion worth risking. My mother is not a criminal. My mother is an artist who owns the train. Uncle Sam owns my last name, Mad. He can't sharecrop my first 2. It's Shamika, Shameaca, yeah. My mom put hella A's in my name because she knew I'd be a star student in college. I kept my hand raised while Jane and Catherine played their cards like their names safe. I answered correctly. Like every overlooked black body in women's corrections was sitting there watching, whispering, don't fuck it up. Like my mother was watching and listening, like every girl, Shaquana, Shauna, Shaniqua wouldn't be tossing and turning about their corporate dreams that night. Like my mom, she gathered all the Africa she could find, y'all. And she put it on an abandoned train that everyone thought would go nowhere, and she laughs hardest when they see me moving so on track with a name so black like, yeah, that's Shamika. Thank you all. But I just wanted to say, like, this has been absolutely phenomenal. If you think that I'm pretty good, you're in for a treat with the other mentors. But what I will say is that They're just a couple of years older than me. You know, they're all still very young. And, but I know that they would still agree with me, especially David. And I know they would agree with me in saying that these students have taught us just as much as anything that we've given them. They have been exceptional, and I'm not gonna get emotional. So I'm gonna go to the next poem and just talk a little bit after that. I have 2 more left. And let's try to lighten up the mood. This one is called 7 Helpful Hints on How to Stop Obsessing Over Lovers Who Never Did It Right Anyway. And if you were uncomfortable with the last F-bomb, there's like 1 in each poem, so you can walk out if Jesus tells you to. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. 1, they are not Obama. They are not Michael B. Jordan. They are not Dreadlock Jesus. In other words, if they can't raise your taxes, be the cornerstone of why you're still semi-attracted to men, or save the abandoned house you call a soul, why invite them in anyhow? 2, after the 39th time calling, put the Henny down. Pick the Henny up. Now drink it like it is the cure to getting your dignity back. Just to lose it again, call again. You know, with heartbreak, you gotta go all the way through it. You gotta make their voicemail your journal until you're no longer content with it knowing you more than you know yourself. 3, look into private investigating. I mean, during undergrad, you majored in finding evidence in Snapchat backgrounds. You've got a master's in cultures of fuckboy. You're still working on your PhD, and it goes down in the DMs. You, my dear, are a qualified detective. Surely keeping tabs on a cheating lover doesn't pay enough, like their attention. 4, when you catch them texting that one new friend more than platonic emojis and body parts, send your lover on a fake vacation for 2. When they do not invite you, watch their lives carry on like their luggage, like you would if your mom ever taught you how to let go. Go to the nearest gas station, fill up the tank of your car and the emergency gas can in the trunk. Finally, you will get the last laugh. Now with the flick of a match, you'll make their home symbolism for their promises, the burning flame Satan sprouted them from, and you'll just sit a little longer just to watch and laugh a little harder. 5, if you're still reading this and you're not facing charges for arson, congratulations. You might be mind-fucked, but you are not fatal attraction. You know you cannot make them love you. 6, you know what, screw them. God knows no one will ever do it like you did. You gave them more climaxes than Donald Trump gives you reasons to hate him. They do not have enough clitoral votes to get re-elected in your lower Oval Office ever again. 7, back out of that post with the 74 likes, back out of their ex's best friend, back out of whatever got you to the page on weed dealer named Pootie, back out of your room to the nearest bathroom, double tap your mirror and draw a heart around it with your favorite red lipstick. Baby girl, I promise, your like is the only one that matters here. Thank you. Aria, Ellie, Kevin, Mayan, Brianna, Jess, Becky. I definitely messed that up, but you know what I meant. Brianna, Becky, Jess, and the lovely Tomas and Madeline. You guys have touched me extraordinary ways, y'all. And a lot of these students here have done bigger things than I have. And they're going to do bigger things than I've ever done. And I really hope that every person in this room knows how extraordinary each and every individual in these front row is, because I truly do, and I've been blessed. But also, to the mentors who are also my mentors, I know I've come off as one, but They've also taught me extraordinary things. David, Alison, and of course Rosemerry have been giving me so many sweet things, and I honestly can't say enough of thank you to Alan as well, and Evie and John and everybody, Paul and Clyde, and I'm sure we already said our thank you, so I'm not gonna go too far into there. But what I will say, please support them. Please listen to them. They know way more than you think they do. A lot more than you probably think they do. And a little bit about me. Oh, Tom. Oh my gosh. You can take care of that first. I'm gonna just keep talking like it's not there. Yeah, I'm gonna keep talking like it's not there. So I went to the University of Wisconsin where there were spiders that big all the time. Oh my God. And oh my gosh. That is a huge spider, y'all. Yeah. I'm sorry. Was I supposed to distract you? Okay. Here it is. Woo! Go ahead, Marcus. I see you out here. Oh, she got it? That's for women rights. Don't we deserve that? Yes. All right, I'm gonna get off the stage, but I will say that this is about my experience at the University of Wisconsin, and it was certainly in a sundress, though. I'm sorry, I'm enamored. Can we give her a hand clap for that? So this is about my time at Wisconsin, and it's been interesting. When I arrived to the Avalanche, that is Madison, I was told of a running joke. There's only 2 seasons in Wisconsin, winter and construction. Tweets after the first deadly snowfall. So white outside, January gentrified the sun with tanning salons and called it summer renewal. So white outside, the wind at my school is getting through this blizzard in flip-flops, and I'm barely hanging on to the bootstraps it roars for. So white outside, Miley Cyrus won't claim it, but takes advantage of it at her convenience. So white outside, it doesn't think that was a racist encounter. Maybe the cop was just having a bad day in the middle of that sundown town at Moon Up, and you just happened to be dark. Magic. So white outside, magic is what I convinced myself the wind said when I am called a nigger for the 4th time on campus. So white outside, winter has lumped all other seasons in one category, weather of color. So white outside, winter has taught its children to never, ever see seasons. But notices how every snowflake is drastically different. So white outside, winter is still subconsciously pissed that Rodney King died in the summer. You know, why not cuffing season? Snow stands its ground best then on black men and women and boys like Tony Robinson. Half blizzard, half summer baby. He lived 3 blocks away from me before a breeze with a badge brought hail and bullets. And the fucked up part is I forecasted it all 2 weeks before at a silent protest on a food court floor where the subway girl said, "Why are they doing this here? This is Madison, not Ferguson." After his death, the blizzard on his mother's side begged thousands of us to leave the Capitol and just go back to class. But how could we in level 4 storm warnings, so white outside, scarves here, feel like nooses in the 1940s. You don't like it, but you do what you have to stay alive. So white outside, I don't want my sister to visit. I don't want her to catch the cold. So white outside, that summer baby's got seasonal depression year round, and snow doesn't care who it falls on here. So white outside, my sister and I are no threat to the wind's rich father. To him, we are only here to be blown away. So white outside, I wonder about the construction, you know? They said there'd be construction. Thank you all so much.
be back for Power Poetry in April. So if you like that, you can have more then. Okay. You guys have a preference? I missed it.
Please, God, I do not want to follow.
No.
You will?
Wrong with the longest poem,
No. A number of years ago, Dave Lee suggested some poets for an anthology we were doing called Red Thread, Gold Thread. And one of them that he mentioned was Rosemerry Trommer. And he said, oh, she's just such a great presenter. And you could believe Dave about 90% of the time. So I took a chance and brought her here, and she's just been a favorite ever since. So Rosemerry, please come up.
Hey, that was awesome. This is a poem I debuted here a few years back. It's my alter ego, Wild Rose. She does everything that I'm too afraid to do, too scared to do, too nervous to do, too embarrassed to do. So when I was in a physical therapy office and I had a problem with my hamstring, the physical therapist suggested that it might help if I swayed my hips a little bit more when I walked. And I thought, no. And she said, well, you could just pretend you have a tail. And I thought, no. And Wild Rose thought that was a great idea. Wild Rose chooses a tail. She is tired of all this tight-ass, skinny-hip nonsense. Walking down the street like a pole, like a rail, like a wall. Wild Rose moves in curves. She gets more swink, more sway every day, and she wants a tail. And not some fluffy little scut. And not some prehensile appendage always grabbing at things. She wants a long and slinky swirl of a tail that will swing when she steps, and you can bet she will swing for the pure fun of swinging. And she's gonna flick it and swish it with a wiggle in her gait, 'cause she's got fanny and flair and a swagger in her ramble, and now she has got a tail, and you know she was looking for some other way to tease anyone who thinks a woman is supposed to play it straight. And that new tail erupts it on her coccyx, and the way that she is feeling, the road she is walking can go on forever. You all get yourself an alter ego. And anytime you're scared, anytime you're nervous, you just write them right into that situation. There have been a few too many obituaries, and this is one that's maybe the funnier side of them, I guess. This is one that my friend Phyllis sent me from the New York Times, and the headline was, Lou Michaels, all-purpose player, dies at 80, missed kicks in '69 Super Bowl. That was the headline. When I die, let them write about all the mistakes I made. Let them mention in the headlines how many rejection letters I received from the Sun. Let them say, Mr. Calling for Broadway back in 1987. Let them say, oh, she trained hard, but she never won the Nordic ski race. They can note how my children fought in front of company, how every chocolate cake I made sank in the center. How beets in my garden were never bigger than golf balls, and how I never even watched the Super Bowl, much less knew who played for the Colts back in 1969 while I was still foreman in my mother's womb. And Lou Michaels missed 2 field goals that helped the Jets win. What do any of us really accomplish? My friend Wayne says we do what we can and have mercy. Yes. Let them say, I did what I could. Let them say that I loved the best that I knew how, and messed that up too. It's what we do. We who are kicking our way to the back pages of the paper. Well-intentioned and foundering, faithful and confused as we are, we mess up. Yes. Mercy on us. Mercy on all our failing little hearts. How they beat so sincerely. Mercy on this longing to shine. And this reminder again to kneel.
Yeah.
And this is one for my son. He's an odd, sweet duck. He has these grandiose ideas like, Mom, let's learn Latin this summer. But then he spends most of his time in the dirt and on his screen. But we did get in one lesson. This is Latin 101. As a matter of course, we begin with the impossible, conjugating love. Repeat after me. Amo.
Amo.
Amas.
Amas.
Amat.
Amat.
My son and I sit on the couch and chant the old syllables that have informed so many tongues. Amamus.
Amamus.
Amatis.
Amatis.
Amant.
Amant.
It's almost always the first lesson when learning this language few speak anymore. Every other language I've studied begins with to have, to go, to be. But here we begin where humans prove our humanness. I love, you love, he loves. The news every day is filled with the ways we fall short. And still, we devote our lives to these 6 possibilities. We love, you love, they love. Everything depends on this. Amo. Amas. Amat. To my son, they are still only sounds. He thrills that he can remember them. But his mother, she wanders the conjugations like paths, semite, as if stepping through fields of flowers or war, with no idea where the feet might land next, hoping that though the language has died, there are still clues in it for the living. Amamos.
Amamos.
Amatis.
Amatis.
Amant.
Amant.
Some lessons are simple to memorize. Some we practice for a lifetime. Anyone really good at math in here? I need some help with this story problem. If you get the answer, help me out. Story problem. If I were paddling in a green canoe, traveling at the rate of X miles per hour, and if you were paddling in a blue canoe, traveling at the rate of Y miles per hour, and the rate of the stream was a constant, which already we know was a lie. Well then how hard would I have to paddle in which force equals G? before our canoes were not canoes, but a field of rye in which you and I are waiting together in the grass waist and golden and no longer traveling in separate canoes. And let's just say that in this field, there's a breeze blowing from the west at P miles per hour. If I tossed you a dream and you were standing due east of me, how long would it take my dream to reach you? And what's the percentage of a chance that a dream comes true? I know, too much singing, not enough facts, and so many irrelevant details, but we all know that the details are the most important part of the story, because of course it matters that the grass is golden, but I wouldn't mind if it were green, filled with blue flax flowers all nodding in the breeze, still blowing from the west at P miles per hour. Yeah, a whole river of blue flowers nodding at us to say, that's right. It doesn't make any sense. That's okay, just keep on telling the story. Dum, 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 Evie coming up to help me out. I absolutely love collaborating with other artists. This most recent book of mine came out 2 weeks ago. Is a collaboration that's taken 2 years with the artist Jill Sabella. It started with she and I sending each other 3 lines back and forth. I'd send her a 3-line poem, and she'd send me a 3-line drawing back. She'd send me a 3-line drawing, I'd send her a 3-line poem back. Here's a couple. My heart, an apple blossom, afraid it doesn't know how to become an apple. The house on fire, and me still trying to get all the beds made. Waiting for forgiveness. The train is ready, but the rail's long gone. A 12-arm love. 2 arms to hold you and 10 to let you go. Oh, that fence I build around my heart. Real good kindling. Even now, even now, even now, even now, even now. Bow. And I'll close with this one. Really, what's been so beautiful about this particular time together has been the willingness of these students, and I have to say, all the adults that we've been with, to be extremely, beautifully, availably, radically vulnerable with each other. Thank you for that. I think it's what we're all called to do, in poetry and outside too. This is a poem about radical vulnerability. It came from a dream. There's more to this story, but I'm not going to tell it. Unless you ask later. That's right. I showed up naked for tea. I know it's not the proper thing to do. Wearing only this pink scarf. I had on more when I left the house. But the closer I got to showing up, the fewer layers I had on. At least it's soft, the scarf. At least it's warm, the tea. You don't have to pretend you don't notice. I won't pretend either. We'll just go on. It's a little bit uncomfortable, like most things are at first, but maybe by the time we pass the cream, you will have slipped out of your own button-up shirt. Your judgment, your embarrassment, your belt. And maybe by the time we get to the bottom of our cups, we will wonder why we would ever spend an afternoon or an evening or 3 days together any other way. Thank you.
We've been playing off of each other's poems for 3 days, so I'm still in the habit. Ne'amo Amas Amat. Here's one from about 800 years ago from the Middle East by Shams of Tabriz, who was the teacher of Rumi, best-selling poet in the world today. I, you, he, she, we, in the garden of mystic lovers, these are not true distinctions. Alison Luterman. I heard one of her poems, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago. On the basis of that, invited her to the first Power Poetry Festival. Everyone loved her. We still love her. And want to have her keep coming back again and again. Please come up now, Ellison.
Man, I have to follow all these people. You know, maybe the over the ears thing. Is that easy to get to do? Let's just get this out of the way. Oh, that's the part that's not so easy.
Marcus.
It doesn't work. Is this gonna work? Okay. Okay, put it on. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, after Shamika went, I went, just please God, don't make me go after Shamika. And then Rosemerry went, and I'm like, please God, don't make me go after Rosemerry. But, you know, here I am. So, and please God, don't make me go after all these incredible poets. But I want to tell you about how when I was in high school, I fell in love with a song, actually with a singer, Buffy St. Marie. She was of my era. How many people here are my vintage and remember her? She's the First Nation from Canada, I believe. And the album was the one where her face is green on the cover. And she sang this song called Codine, and I fell in love with this song, and I will give you a verse. Now I'm afraid it's going to be a little loud with this. We'll just put this down like this. My belly's a craving, I got a shaking in my head. Feel like I'm dying and I wish I did. If I live till tomorrow, it'll be a long, long time. And I'll read and I'll fall and I'll die on Codine. And it's real, and it's real one more time. Yeah. Yeah. So the song is about a woman who's addicted to codeine, and it has about 100 million verses to it. And I played it over and over and over again because it was the song I was going to choreograph for my modern dance unit in gym. And you can imagine how much my parents loved that. So this poem is called Buffy St. Marie, I Love Your Howl of Anguish because it's real. Even her name tasted of snow, and her voice was wild river whiskey knocked down the back of the throat. And it's real, one more time, she growled in that unearthly vibrato, shaking my small plastic suitcase-shaped record player. I never tired of it, never got enough, played the same song over and over, all the furniture in our living room pushed back so I could perform flailing imitations of drug withdrawal, whip-whapping my young head around like a yo-yo in a thunderstorm. I am a wound crying to be touched. I am a quivering sword stuck in suburbia's gray tombstone. My father threatened to break the record in half, and my mother, scared, slammed what doors she could, but that voice of rust and regret seeped in under the threshold with its message of hell and gone, its molten insinuations. And I was already out of my mind, galloping wild over the moaning hills, strung out on a line of song. Guys saw that movie called Man on Wire? Yes. It's the one where the guy walks between the Twin Towers. I have such a fear of heights that just thinking about it was enough to kind of give me palpitations, and seeing the movie pretty much sent me over the edge. This guy illegally strung a cable between the towers before they came down, of course, and walked. No net. And the film is called Man on Wire, and the man is Philippe Petit. This is called Man on Wire, Woman on Couch, Screaming. Above flapping green awnings and cars idling at streetlights. Above yellow lines and white lines painted on asphalt, and the man hawking coffee and donuts from his little metal cart. Above cruel, jagged cornices of buildings. Above clouds, above gulls and their squawking. Higher than that. 110 stories up. One slippered foot glides onto a strung cable, then the other, and he's dancing, holding nothing but a long pole balanced against air currents, against laws, against common sense, balanced in God's empty palm. Slender wisp of a man, black-clad, crazy clown. And you, watching the video on your couch, why are you screaming and writhing like a woman in orgasm or childbirth? Like someone being dangled head down from a great height. You're safe as a hamster in your own safe house, watching this man walk on a wire between what used to be twin towers. There used to be a world to step off from. Elevators, fax machines, water coolers. Who'd ever dream the dreamer would outlast steel? There are moments you pray to be ready for, but seldom are. He steps off the edge into air, great shining panes of light, sheer freedom, the magnetic dread and pull of it. Now he kneels. Now he salutes the towers, the city, all space and time. Now he lies down, face to the sky, perfectly relaxed, and you want to faint. You who do not trust even the ground to hold you, who think you'll fall off the earth for one misspoken word. But this It's like being inside a cathedral of pure terror, skewered by the sound of bells. And even after he climbs down and is received into the blue-coated arms of a New York City cop, even after the whole city exhales and goes back to its ordinary pleasures and ills, it goes on somewhere, forever in the mind, in the living cells, to step out of the possible into amazement. How the dream floats over the city where steel melted and buildings dissolved. How in the end, only the ephemeral endures. I wanted to also share with you Manifesto. This is another one about my younger self. I have to say, these kids are students, young people, are all like so much more mature, not only than I was when I was their age, but like when I was 30, you know. Like, they are like, you guys are like, really. So, I mean, it's ridiculous, really. It's ridiculous. And, you know, of course we all love you, but I want to tell you how much we respect you. We respect you so much. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know what the parents of today are doing, but it's something right. You're incredible. So Manifesto, I on the other hand was kind of an idiot for a really long time, and proof of my idiocy is that I hitchhiked from the East Coast to the West in Canada, from Montreal to Vancouver. That was not an intelligent thing to do. Please don't do it. This is called Manifesto. I was the wild-haired girl by the side of the road, thumb out, steering a jittery course between terror and boredom. Hours later, if you cared to look, you'd find me rattling around in the back of a truck, carried headlong into the next thing. It was just my luck to have been born when I was on the cusp of a chaotic abundance. And as my sister said, I was the fastest sperm, or maybe just the most persistent. What luck I've had since then, to sleep in the wet spot, to bruise easily, to laugh till I fart. What luck that my heart splintered into a million tiny silver needles, each one on fire. I think I lost my sound. It's okay. Each one on fire to embroider love-stained and prisoner of the self on red satin pillows. Lucky to live a lifetime in the years between losses, to lie awake at night, wide-eyed with the doleful sirens and the restless mice, to sweat a misspent word, to rue the past, to have a past to rue. Luckiest of all, to have yearned mightily and learned a little, to have lived inside desire like Jonah in the whale, perpetually greedy and hopeful, making a lifetime out of each mouthful. And then to find you. Luck at the 11th hour, undeserved, red-faced, panting, an overworked guardian angel, a messenger from all we can't see, a note telling us that love is real, was here all along, a forgotten blue and green marble in our back pocket, an exact replica of the living world. Thank you.
For the Salt Lake City Olympics. Is it for a theater company or?
Yeah, Salt Lake Acting Company.
Okay. And when I read this poem, I just could not believe it. You won't either. I hope you didn't eat too much for dinner. Dave Lee, we heard his poems when we were rafting the Colorado River. long time ago, 2000 or so. I called him up, I found his number, I said, we have a little poetry festival, will you come to it? And he said, yeah, sure. I said, I can't pay you much. He said, you're gonna pay me? Spoken like a true poet. And he's become my brother in the subsequent years. He's wonderful, he's brilliant. He won't admit to that, but he is. And I'd like him to come up and wow everybody like only Dave Lee can do.
There's not very many people here. You need a mic. Do you really need a microphone?
Yes.
Yeah. There's always a deaf one in the bunch.
What'd you say?
Huh?
What'd you say?
This is a love fest tonight. Wow. We've praised everybody so much that we're getting greasy. My grandma would say, man, that bobbin's been turning so long we might even got some sewing done tonight. It's all true. Love you guys. You're amazing. Just wow, what fun. Logan, Ohio. You're incredibly lucky. There is nothing like this anywhere else in the United States of America. There is not. And Al is just an amazing guru, a bodhisattva.
Yes, sir.
And you parents, you really did well. Parents and grandparents, you really did well with these kids. And if you ever get tired of them, call my number. I got adoption papers. I'm working on my granddaughter. I'll work on yours, by golly. I got room in my heart for these kids. Any day, anytime, any place. Call. All right, I wrote this piece before these kids were even born, and some of them even not yet a glimmer in Daddy's eye. This goes back a way. I was working on this poem, and they commissioned it in 1998 and 9, I believe. And I spent a couple of years putting it together, and then they performed it over a 3-month period of time. I think 98% of the people in Utah got to see it, and I was one of the remaining 2%. I've never seen it performed, but that's okay. I had more fun writing it than they did put it on. And this is a command performance. This is for Al and Abby. They didn't ask. They said, you are going to read that poem. Well, all right. The incident at Thompson Slough, and it's not written in acts, it's written in scenes. So I'll just sort of keep you along with my fingers for something to do with that hand while we go through the scenes. Ollie McDougal said, all things considered, which he admitted free and clear he hadn't. Next time he'd walk or hitchhike, and if that nephew of his by marriage on his wife's side, no sexual relation of his, ever set out in his pickup half of a Monday night listening to the radio with that one girl in the front seat running down the back streets until nothing wouldn't crunk that next morning, he would separate his habits from his ideas with a broke-off 2x4 or a shovel handle. If he lived to be 104, he'd never figure out how he let that boy talk him into getting on a bicycle with a John Deere t-shirt and a basket on the front to bring the groceries back from the store on double S&H green stamps day. He hadn't rode no damn bicycle for 40 years. But that boy said, Grandpa, it's one of them things you do, like swimming or making love to something firm and young. He didn't think to tell him. He never learned how to do more than dog paddle, and he'd knew for a fact he had forgot anything he ever knew about that other one long time ago. There he was, wobbling down the road on the way to Piggly Wiggly. Boy said he's too tired to offer to make the town trip for him. It's only 6 miles, mostly flat. He's sure it'd be okay, and the doctor said he ought to be getting him some exercise. It might have been a red letter day, he said, except half a mile down the road, here come Coach Bingham from the high school in his fresh-washed car that morning, taking it out to dry and show off. Said, "What's that bicycle you're riding?" Ollie said, "It's my nephew's by marriage on my wife's side." He said, "I can see that. It's a red one. Where are you going to on it?" Ollie said, "Piggly Wiggly, if I can make it that far before tonight." Coach said, "Y'all want to tow into town?" Ollie said, "Where?" Coach said, "I got a rope in my trunk. We'll tie it on my bumper and then on them handlebars. You can pull you a coast in the whole live way." Ollie said, "Oh, not too fast. Now, I ain't much of a good on one of these no more." He said, "I'll go slow. You hang on and ride." Tied the tow line up, got in, and then before he started his car, got back out and brought Ollie this coaching whistle on a loop string and put it around his neck. Said, "It's gonna be just fine. But if something goes wrong, I don't see it in the car mirror, you blow on that whistle till I stop." Got back in, and they started off slow, driving in to Piggly Wiggly grocery store, pulling Ollie MacDougal on red bicycle. New production model, Bonneville 1957 Pontiac. The football boosters presented him as an incentive to beat Tahoka, shining from the fresh car wash like diamonds stitched in a bull's butt. To this day, I do not know where I got that image, but it seemed right. It's going to squatch better than Ollie said he thought he could have expected, until Clarence Ivy in his pickup, he had put a new 357 engine in with cherry bomb mufflers, comes down the road late to get home in horrible trouble with his wife, because him and his boy, who had just turned 8 years old at 1 minute after midnight that morning in the 3rd grade, named Jerry Don Ivy that fall, were supposed to go to the store and buy her meadow lark butter to make pie crust with while she finished boiling dewberries. But he heard down to Adolph's Cafe on the way the news. Artie Gill that morning caught a bass, 9 pounds and 12 ounces, over to Justusburg Lake. He said he had to see with his own eyes before he'd believe it. And since he had his poles in the truck bed, maybe he would cast out a time or two, let Jerry Don see if it was any catfish might be biting down on the bottom, which he thought was a real good idea to celebrate his birthday with. Both kitchen fish, almost a toe sack full, 2 good-sized bass, and 1 catfish Clarence had to help him on, upwards of 4 pounds he thought he was pretty sure about. Never did see Artie Gill's bass, but they were all talking about it down to the lake, so it must have been true, more or less at least. And then he remembered butter. "Uh-oh, Jerry Don," he said, "we better be getting back home. Your mama's gonna have her doors up her crack if we don't get down that stairs." Went to his pickup. It was a potential tragedy. wouldn't turn over. All the electric flatlined. Had to follow it down the wires until he found a fuse blown dead. Piddled through his jockey box to see if he had anything might work. The only thing that fit was a .22 bullet out of his pistol. He put it in and said, "Well, I'll be," when it started. Pulled out and drove to town 55 miles an hour as an example to Jerry Dunn of the law of the land until he come up on Coach Bingham he'd played football for almost 10 years ago, pulling Ollie MacDougall on a red bicycle with a towing rope. Came up beside him with the off window down, racked his cherry bomb muffler, hollered, "Flip a booger on him, Jerry Don." Just at the same time, that boy pulled one loose, and he did, right on the hood of Coach's shiny black car. Said, "I got him, Daddy." Coach Bingham hollered, "Damn you." Clarence Ivy said, "Not if you can't catch me." Shifted up to second and peeled rubber. Ollie MacDougall said, "Oh no." How could it be? But just at that second, Deputy Sheriff Junior Shepherd down to the 4 Mile Bridge cut off under the big shade tree, taking his turn showing Maudie Faye Rayburn how the inside of the new 2-year-old patrol car looked, heard those cherry bomb mufflers, said, "Hey, by God, I bet that's Clarence Ivy in his pickup." She said, "Where's he at?" Heard those tires squalling. Said, "By God, I bet he's racing that pickup." She said, "Racing it where?" Set up in time to see Clarence go by on the road like it was Indianapolis. Jumped over the seat back, took out the microphone, hollering, "Sheriff Floyd, Sheriff Floyd, set up a roadblock. Is Clarence Ivy coming into town past 4 Mile going 80 miles an hour? I'll be in pursuit." Said Maudie Faye, "You have to get out. I'll come back and get you pretty soon." She said, "Get out where?" Sheriff Floyd called back on the radio, said, "Come again, Junior?" Here come Coach Bingham, wide open in his shiny black 57 Bonneville Pontiac, honking like a skein of geese leading in the second coming. "Sheriff Floyd, Sheriff Floyd," he hollered. "Is Coach Bingham go?" Wait a minute. Lord God Almighty, it is Ollie MacDougall on a red bicycle, 90 miles an hour, blowing the whistle, trying to pass. Get out, Maudie Faye. You have to get out now. Right here, she said, leaned over the seat and opened the back door, pushed her out on the ground. "I have to go to work," he said, "right now." She said, "You son of a bye," said Junior. In the office, Sheriff Floyd said, "Oh, Lord, I'm afraid Maudie Faye might have unscrewed Junior's brains out this time." Went out to his patrol car to go see. 2 miles outside town, Coach Bingham caught up to Clarence Ivy, sat on his bumper, horn wide open, Ollie MacDougall blowing his whistle like a jet airplane, and Junior Shepherd coming off the gravel onto the road pavement with his red lights and sirens screaming. Maybe it was the heat inside that pickup cab, or an act of God just then. That .22 bullet went off, loud as a stick of dynamite tore into the pickup seat up to the ceiling, right through Clarence Ivy's left testicle. Oh. Even the girl said that, and you don't know. Well, Jerry Don Ivy said he couldn't remember exactly what it was his daddy said. It all happened quick, and the noise was loud, and he remembered the pickup going into the ditch, and him thinking, "Daddy, Mama gonna be real mad. Clarence Ivy's pickup bounced off the road into the right-hand bar of pit, spun twice and jumped the offside cliff. High-centered with the rear wheels spinning loose, gravel 45 feet back onto the pavement, cherry bomb mufflers backfiring like 4th of July. Coach Bingham side slid his left axle deep, then sank halfway into Thompson Slough up to his doors before he could imagine what happened, bellowing like a tornado. Said he had to crawl out the window up on the car top to see where he was at. Ollie McDougal's red bicycle turned into a launched skyrocket over Coach Bingham's Bonneville Pontiac 50 feet out into mud before they ceased partnership. That whistle blowing so hard, his face looked like 2 muskmelons stuck on his cheeks. Spike landed upside down in a juniper front wheel. A windmill spinning like an Olympic champion. I told you I wrote it for the Olympics. Ollie McDougal belly flopped in gumbo, slid 20 more feet up on the Thule grass, rolled over thinking he was blind for life or dead in black hell until he wiped off the mud. Not a single bone, busted even a bloody nose for a souvenir. Said he had to pull the whistle up by the string from where he swallowed it. Deputy Sheriff Junior Shepard screamed on the scene. 1 minute and 56 seconds later, 82 miles an hour, locked his brakes and skittered sideways a quarter mile down the pavement, sank the front end of his patrol car into the slough, crawled out the back window and hollered, "Y'all all under arrest. Don't you move any. I got me a reinforcement coming." Cletus Graves puttered up to his place with Maudie Faye Rayburn on the tractor fender, picked up on the road. If she sworn she wouldn't tell nobody. Jerry Don Ivy screeching like a banshee when his daddy pulled down his pants and saw blood all over his pecker, down his legs. Said, "Oh God, I'm bleeding to death." Holding his privates, fainted, dead away. Sheriff Red Floyd pulled up, sat in his car, looking out at the slough. Didn't even recognize Ollie McDougal, so covered up with mud. Said the only thing he could think of was to wonder, what in hell is a bicycle doing with its tires spinning upside down in a juniper tree? How come Maudie Faye Rayburn's wearing Junior Shepard's patrolman's hat when the radio came on and the dispatcher, Sheila Morris, said, "Sheriff Floyd, it's Darlene Ida on the line saying her husband and son ain't come home. They supposed to be bringing her some Meadowlark butter." Junior Shepard hollering, "Y'all under arrest." Coach Bingham yelling, "That little booger flipped a bugger on my car." Ollie McDougal asking, "Am I dead?" Sheriff Floyd said, "Oh, Lord, Sheila, you better tell Darlene to go get in her car and start it up. Her boy and Clarence been involved in an incident at Thompson Slough." He was supposed to be getting me Meadowlark butter, Darlene Ivy said. "Mama," said Jerry Don Ivy. "Ma'am," said Sheriff Floyd. "I just washed the car all clean," said Coach Bingham. "My car wouldn't crunk and I needed groceries," said Ollie McDougal. "Mama," said Jerry Don Ivy, "I can't make no pie crust without butter." said Darlene. Ma'am, now your husband's in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, said Sheriff Floyd. They was going 90 miles an hour. At least I will swear to it, said Junior Shepherd. Mama, said Jerry Don. Did he get my butter, said Darlene. Now, look what all happened, said Coach Bingham. They're all under arrest, said Junior Shepherd. Here, take this, you horse's ass, said Modi Fay, giving back his hat. Mama, said Jerry. What? Jerry Don, said Darlene Ivy. Mama, Daddy shot off his balls, said Jerry Don, now I wished you wouldn't talk like that, said Darlene. Ma'am, said Sheriff, well, where is my meadowlark butter? Said Darlene. Ollie, did you flown that bicycle up in that tree upside down like that? Said Maudie Fay. Junior, would you please go get this woman her meadowlark butter? Was what Sheriff Floyd said that got Darlene Ivy calmed down and Jerry Don in the car to take him home so the winch truck could get close enough to pull Coach Bingham's Bonneville Pontiac out of the slough and Clarence Ivy's pickup off the Bar Pit Ridge paid Arliss Jamerson $5 extra county money to wade out and get Ollie McDougal's nephews by marriage on his wife's side bicycle out of the juniper tree upside down. Ollie said he would never ride that sumbitch no more. He didn't want no groceries today after this double S&H green stamps or not. Washed his face off best he could in slough top water. Cletus Graves went on along on his tractor after there's nothing else left to see. Junior Shepherd offered Maudie Fay a ride into town. She said she'd rather walk. Sheriff Floyd loaded the red bicycle in the trunk of the patrol car. Ollie and Maudie Fay Rayburn together in the back seat and drove them to McDougal's where they both got out. Maudie Fay said she'd be fine for tonight at least. On the way, found out on the radio, Clarence Ivy lost one nut. Said over for a couple of days, but was not otherwise mutilated or incapacitated. And Deputy Sheriff Junior Shepherd knocked on the door. When she answered it, said, "Here's your butter, ma'am." Sheriff Floyd, Sheila Morris said from the dispatch office, "It's Darlene Ivy on the line, wondering if anybody knows when Clarence will be coming home and if anybody thought to get that tow sack of fish out of her husband's pickup and bring it by to her house so she can fix some happy birthday supper for her little boy, Jerry Don Ivy, tonight." That was dessert. Thank you. Yeah.
Time to follow Dave's example, talk to these young people. We have some other young people here who previously have been at Wellspring and find out what they've been doing. They're our family. Thank you for coming. Good night.